And on that note, let's get started with our next architect presentation on the topic, the culture and identity of public architecture. We have with us Mr. Sourabh Gupta from Archohm Consults, Noida. So can we have a round of applause to welcome Mr. Sourabh Gupta?
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you, FOAID, for inviting me. And I'd basically like to share some of the inquiries of Archohm as an office in the recent past. And most of it at the architectural level is on the identity and kind of groping with this whole idea of culture and kind of reflecting in the culture reflecting in our architecture in today's times. But also, so that it doesn't become too design-centric, it's also trying to also show and share with the fraternity out here the challenges one faces in getting this done. So, you know, to me, it's always the whole idea of the dream to the delivery. And I hope to share some of that with you as we start. Yeah. So I basically take you through about 3 projects quickly. And I had this little conversation with my faculty of Ahmedabad last week, and it was really interesting to kind of walk our way through and share with you how basic issues of architecture kind of really work and across different projects. And I think all of you face the same issues. Basically, there are 3 projects. One is a project called Dilli Haat, which was completed a few years back. That's the slides up on your screen right now. And to me, the biggest challenge was not how a young firm, a 5-year-old firm, won a competition of that scale in nature, but really the struggle and the learning was how it actually took shape. It took, I think, more than 9 years for us to be able to bring it to shape. So from a 5-year-old office, winning a very enthusiastic bunch of people, getting this competition, to seeing the reality of it in 9 years was hell of a time. But it was a great learning, because I think that's the fun of architecture in India, and that's the challenge of getting things done. So 8-acre site with multitude of functions, and one of the biggest things was to look at the program and kind of rework on the program using bamboo as a material. A government project. I would really thank the fraternity out there, the government employees. Everybody really worked hard with us, but we got it done. But it was a challenge, and it was something that we wanted to explore as a cultural identity. Programmatically, like I said, Dilli Haat used to actually perform on a lot of music in Delhi, and that would really get restricted to the winters, to the climates of today, actually. But in summers, they wouldn't. And so bringing in an auditorium and an amphitheater, bringing in air-conditioned shopping, bringing in food at a larger level, I think those were the kind of inserts we brought into the project, and then tried to look at it with keeping the identity intact. Just a reflection of my 9-year story, you know, there are these series of architects who worked on it, and it was insane how much energy it takes to just convince for simple things, for simple details for a project. But the impact is much larger with public architecture, and that's what really kept us going. To fight the brick of Dilli Haat, which actually was a good success as architects to see brick as a synonym for Dilli Haats, but to fight that and to explore more, keeping the vernacular and the traditional together was an interesting one. So that's one of the battles we really fought well. A lot of technological, lot of intuitive stuff that went through. The big challenge that never becomes a challenge in India in public architecture is people, so of course it gets consumed. The second project is actually one of my dream projects, which is redeveloping the entire area around Taj Mahal. So this actually got inaugurated last week, so now anybody venturing in, taking people through to Taj will hopefully get a better experience around as an access, as an area around it, as a destination in itself, than just the Taj. So this was a project which saw us go through challenges non-architectural at a different level, while keeping the sensitivity of the cultural identity of Taj. So from removing roads as black tar to stone sounds simple, but ask the Supreme Court, ask the 11 stakeholders of Taj if they wanted it, and it was not to be done. It took me about, I think, 2 years to convince them that a black top is not the best thing next to your white Taj, and a stone would work better. But I think took us twice the time to convince people than it was in doing it. So we actually did the job in a year's time. It's all done and dusted now, but it was a 2-year journey. That's the site area. So the whole project started with the larger vision of what the project should do as an identity for Agra. So I have a little video playing, I think you should see, on how we brought a new icon to the entire city of Agra. And now that's really been painted across and has become a starting point to a lot of street furniture, signage, symbols, and branding to the entire city. Don't miss the transition on the other screen. So you see simple blacktop spaces, basic infrastructure got completely transformed, and now as it works, we're also building projects around it. This is the center of the South Gate, which was a complete chaos, and now we're trying to rehabilitate it with the old city, trying to get the shops and the experience of Indian old cities back, and trying to bring it to a new level. So it was really not about just the tourism, but it was also about bringing in the real stakeholders, the people who live there, to a certain level of dignity and freshness that can really transfer to a longer term. So look at whether it was putting the brand together, to the signage, to the pavement, to the lighting. It was a job that had to be done. So last project, this is an international center in Lucknow. It's a project which is due to finish in a couple of months now. And it's basically a combination of two projects. It's a sports facility with a convention center and a hotel and a museum on the other side. And this also came with this massive obligation of looking at what contemporary Indian architecture should be. What is the obligation of architects? Is it copying the East? Is it copying the past? Is it copying the West? And I think that's where we've really tried to look at materials, technologies, and ways of putting this together. So you see now the entire project with all the three components. So it was, again, at a program level. We had the previous slides showing a sports facility, which is the under diving pools, swimming pools, and indoor courts from lawn tennis to table tennis, the convention centers, and then the hotel that sticks as the building on top. This is the museum. It's a museum on socialism. It's really celebrating the idea of the people. And this actually is where I really want to put a point in terms of how Archohm as a practice has tried to transcend architecture, interiors, products, graphics into a one single design office. And from conceptualizing architectonics of the materials and the build form, to the interiors of the entire space, to the experience of the entire project, we try to do it all. It also it had this series of about 25 galleries as you go across the museum, and you need to control every aspect of it. These are kinetic installations that move around. There's a small video after this that kind of takes you through a little bit of a story, but everything from a sculpture to a signage to a space was all integrated into one space, was all integrated into one design, and then brought together. We had artists like Raghu Rai Sourabh Gupta, all contributing to the project and bringing all these things together to kind of bring in a certain degree of freshness into things. Convincing Mr. Bachchan was a part of the deal, convincing and getting your Kabir Bedi and Om Puri to put in giving their voice to documentaries, making these documentaries. The research work was also a part of our job. So we really had a handle over all the solutions, from furniture to graphics to the urban scale. So I'll end with a video that kind of summarizes the work here and kind of the right message on the forum that, it's a forum, festival of architecture and interiors, but I think it's all design that we do now. And that's really the new mantra of kind of transcending faculties and looking at a holistic picture. Please enjoy. Music, please.
कौन हूं मैं? कौन हो तुम? कौन है ये अरब लोग जिनसे ये देश बना है? कौन थे जिन भारत को गरीब, अशिक्षित और असमानता की जेल से आजाद कराने उन्होंने समाजवादी भारत का
So we basically had to transcend from pure information and museum culture to entertainment and kind of excitement for people. So all these were really tools to design experiences for people to come and, by the way, give them the real story of what socialism can be. And it was built through the city of, with the story of Jayaprakash Narayan. So Raghurai used to be in Statesman as a newspaper guy, so he had a lot of photographs to share. This is like a flip book in 3 dimensions, done by Chavi Design Studio. So you really look at it, looks like a movie once it moves at a certain speed. The famous prison diary that Jayaprakash wrote as his mandate to socialism. And he finally appears as a real 3D. This is projection mapping on the exterior of the facade every evening. So that's how, through socialism, we celebrated design and architecture. Thank you very much.